center that he's at, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to live.
Some states or individual counties, such as Madison, Wisconsin, have instituted protections against discrimination in housing, but it's not nearly enough. Current laws allowing for discriminatory practices in housing, jobs, and education create a recidivism rate that reaches as high as 78% for certain crimes.
I've realized why people go back to prison now. I realize people go back to prison because nobody wants to give them a job. Nobody wants to trust them with a house. Nobody wants to support them. So they go back to doing what they knew how to do to survive.
With the release of The Long Shadow of Incarceration Stigma, Sheila Rule sees the film as an important way to educate the community of the issues facing the formerly incarcerated.
We really believe that telling stories is the way to a person's heart, and it really speaks to a person's humanity, and it's something we all share. So we were delighted when this opportunity came along, and so we're starting with the video featuring Ronald Day and Mercedes Smith, and we hope to continue telling their story. That would be, I think, a lovely way to proceed, but also to look at other ways that we might tell this the story of the stigma of incarceration and the hurdles that people face, and also to display people's humanity, to show that it's really not us against them, but it's simply us.
Ronald Day was released from prison in August 2007. Since then, he's remained committed to the goals he set for himself before his release.
Well, right now, one of my goals is to earn a PhD, which is why I'm in this program, and I'm considering being a professor at some juncture. So, as a part of my PhD program, I can teach, because when you teach, you get a tuition remission, and I love teaching. That's something that I did while I was incarcerated as well. Obviously, not on a college level, but I was always in a position on the inside, at least for a good percentage of the time that I was inside, disseminating information in some form or capacity. And so now I teach organization theory and management in a master's in public administration program in one of the CUNY schools, City University of New York.
What would you say is the hardest thing facing someone when they're first coming home?
Wow, I think that this film sort of like hit on that, and that's the stigma, because once you are released, you could have an awful amount of skills, and you could be very determined that you want to be successful. And again, you can also have a plan, but sometimes people run into major obstacles in society, and oftentimes they say to me, for example, well, you are different than a lot of other people. And I say that that's not necessarily true. I've been able to avail myself of a lot of opportunities that other individuals didn't necessarily have. So I think one of the biggest issues is that there's not a lot of services that individuals can get involved with. There's a great deal of training that individuals need. I mean, right now the economy has been improving, but we've been in economic doldrums for the last couple of years or so. So it's hard for people that are coming home that don't necessarily have like college experience and don't have like certain certifications and a particular specialization that they can put to use in a company out here that is willing to hire them. So one of the things is that individuals are struggling to find work, and also to find often some of the training that might be available out here for them, and even education. I mean, that was an issue with me. I applied to these programs, and you fill out these applications, and just like on a job application, you have to check the box that says that you've been convicted of a crime, and you know that your record is going to be scrutinized, and that you often feel like you're not worthy. And that happened to me recently when I applied to the PhD programs. Both of them that I got accepted to gave me this laundry list of documentation that I needed to provide for them, or like approval to speak to folks that are related to, parole and everything. It was kind of like the process was kind of disheartening. But at the end of the day, I knew that I needed to remain steadfast in pursuit of the goals that I set out for myself. So although I felt like, wow, there's this experience that I'm dealing with, I realized that I have to just continue to struggle to do the things that I need to do and to accomplish the things that I set out, and to not allow for these obstacles to prevent me from achieving these successes in life. And I think that that's the problem for some other people, that they might not be as steadfast in their pursuit of whatever goals that they have for themselves. Somebody else might be knocked down a lot quicker than myself, for example. A lot of times I've realized from my experience that certain people that have criminal justice involvement, they sort of feel isolated and alienated from most people, except probably the ones that are closest to them. And so they're in like these cliques, and in order to improve your situation, in order to improve your prospects, it's like you gotta like break out of that. And that's essentially what I did, because getting a job that I have and being able to get involved in the programs and initiatives that I've been involved in all has something to do with the people that I was connected to and people that I connected with while I was incarcerated. The job that I have now was about someone who was coming into the prison, and he ended up finding out what type of person I am while I was still inside. So it wasn't a matter of me having to make the transition and having to show someone, well, hey, I'm this great person. I could bring value to your community, to your company, that I'm an asset to my community when I just served all this time. So I was able to do that, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And so I think that's one thing that people could sort of like increase their network. And sometimes guys have to volunteer, they have to act as mentors, they have to be willing to be mentored. And so that's what I've essentially done, and that has really sort of like catapulted me to where I am today. I can't really think that I'm not that much more intelligent than the guys that I was in prison with, and maybe somewhat more ambitious, but that's about it. Because guys are very intelligent, guys have really great skills, and they can be successful. But, the issue is, what is it that individuals can do out here with the skills that they currently possess? And who do they know? Because as we already know, people say it's not often what you know, it's who you know. So people need to make those associations, and that's what we generally talk about, myself and the people that I associate with. It's like you gotta, I'd be willing to mentor you. I'd be willing to introduce you to someone who can help you achieve the goals that you have. But like come out of the cliques that you're in, because people do care about you. The community is concerned about whether or not you be successful.
No matter what I do, no matter where I go, somebody will always have something to say. She's a formerly convicted felon. She did time in prison. We can't trust her. People shouldn't constantly deny a person coming home things that they need to survive because they was formerly incarcerated.
And then once a person comes out, what are their biggest challenges?
Oh, boy, there are a range of challenges. Clearly the various obstacles, legal barriers, employment, housing, public benefits that are so that it, denying access to college. So these kinds of things really are legal, and it really holds people back. It really it hinders their journey towards success. So I say that is one of the things that this whole kind of cornucopia of barriers and stigma, etc. So I would say that is something that really holds people back, and beyond that, I think a lack of usable skills is another thing that holds people who've been in prison back, because they haven't had the opportunity, and it's harder to get the opportunity with a record. For example, in New York State prisons, they don't have access to the Internet. My husband has been incarcerated for 21 years. He can tell you how email works. He can tell you how the Internet works because he reads everything. He has never seen the Internet. Yeah. So that what a disadvantage that these men and women have when they come home, and that needs to be corrected. Yeah. I mean, it really does. That's crazy. And another thing I think that holds them back is because they've been away. They don't have networks that some of us who have always been out in the world have. And these are support networks, people who, and I'm not talking about people with money, I'm talking about people who are caring, who, live in mainstream society and can offer help and assistance and guidance. So there are so many things that they don't have, and all the more reason for, I would say, good people, including people who don't think about these issues, because for most people it's not something that they don't think it directly affects their lives, so therefore they don't think about it. But when they do, they might think about getting involved.
So it's, the way we are now with all our prejudices, and once you're released, you're still imprisoned in another way. We keep you trapped no matter what. And,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ronald, the dude is teaching at John Jay, College of Criminal Justice. I mean, it's like one of the foremost institutions in the world, let alone in this country, for teaching criminal justice. He's pursuing a doctorate degree. He has a full-time job. He lives and owns the house with his mother and, family. I mean, this guy is living a life that is more righteous than 90% of Americans,
When you give people a chance, they can do well.
The film The Long Shadow of Incarceration Stigma is available on the Think Outside the Cell Foundation's website. Katina Andaniadis asked Sheila Rule about her hopes for the project.
I would like it to be shown. I would like it to be an kind of an object of discussion, so that churches, companies, anyone who has the opportunity to interface with men and women in this population, and that does include everybody from employers to college students, so that because it's intended to sensitize, to make people aware of not only the struggles, but that these are human beings just like the rest of us.
I just think that society they don't really know what incarceration is about. They only know what they know from TV. I was one of those people. I only knew what I knew from TV.
So, Ronald, for you as a participant in this project, what would you like to see come out of this?
I would like to see, one is a discussion about the policies that need to change for people to have criminal justice involvement. And then beyond the policy, some action, like some real change in our society. One thing that I'm looking for this to do is debunk a lot of the myths and stereotypes about people that have criminal justice involvement. Mm-hmm. And so when you debunk the myths and stereotypes, that means that people can see you outside of the quote-unquote ex-convict, the ex-felon. Mm-hmm. And when they get the opportunity to